I mean, is there gonna be some sort of a top 2.0?
No, I think if you look at any other schools of thought, appreciative inquiry, open space, all these other approaches to methodological approaches to group work, or let's say applied group dynamics, ToP methods is great. I think that it is something from the past to some degree. There's some missing elements, like when you go to look at something like appreciative inquiry, you'll see that there are appreciative inquiry websites, or appreciative inquiry books, or appreciative inquiry gurus and founding fathers and people you can look back to. We don't quite have that kind of coherence in ToP methods, understandably why, because it's part of a social movement and it's a product of the social movement, and there's a whole bunch of people who say we've been giving it away, the purpose is to give it away. Not to brand it and hang on to it, but to give it away. And that's okay. I think what's needed now in ToP methods is for some consolidation to occur. Part of that's occurring through the certification by saying, here's the ToP methods that we need to see evidence of competence. So that puts some pressure on it. The other thing to keep in mind is I get the impression that here in Canada we really had our nose to the grindstone method when it comes to methods. When I see somebody else run consensus workshop method, and I think they don't have a clue about Gestalt. What's your clustering principle? By what principle are you putting these two cards together? You know, you call yourself, you say, I'm using the ICA method. I don't see it, you know, because they're just slapping cards together, grouping by similar words or whatever, dropping them into familiar pre-existing categories. There's some real sloppiness in understanding and real understanding of what they're doing. The naming process. Oh, not enough money. Okay, we'll put that up there as a name. I'm sorry, that's not the method. I get somewhat offended by it because we've had to really put our nose to the grindstone. We had here, like Brian Stanfield, my impression of him was this quiet old guy, and then people would tell me, no, he used to stand on the table and bellow. He used to be a real firebrand. I go, okay, but he falls asleep at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the meeting. So, you know, my experience of him is totally the opposite. But you had people like that pushing challenging questions that you go, I'm going to answer it anyway, you know, and really learning from that, and so much experience gathering here because there was a cadre of people who were out there facilitating and coming back and to some extent reflecting on it. Not a great deal. We've been working in isolation for too many years. There isn't quite that reflection on what's working, what's not working. Don't seem to have the headspace for that because we're trying to stay afloat or get busy or what have you. Future of ToP methods, in my mind, okay, this is my picture. I see ICA International collaborating with a few other ICAs that do training and consulting to some degree or another, and creating a couple of things, an accreditation process. I really would like ICA International to say, we're the people who say you are or you are not an ICA. Here we are the accrediting body. We don't tell you what to do, but here's the criteria. If we can check those off, then okay, you're an ICA. But actually call themselves an accreditation body. That directs a certain kind of power their direction. Then the accredited ICAs can say, we are an accredited ICA. We are, among other things, an arbiter of what is and is not a competent facilitator or a ToP trainer. And then a certain amount of, like if ICA Canada, not ICA Associates, for example, was undertaking the certification of trainers and consultants or facilitators, that again then directs a certain amount of power towards them. I would love to see, a dozen people get involved with ICA Canada, facilitators, and say, okay, we're going to do the certification over here. We're going to do um, we're going to have annual top conferences just to try and boost this body of knowledge, take it to the next level, whatever it might be. But I think that logically comes out of a nonprofit environment. People saying, I'm volunteering to take this to another level. Sort of the way an academic might go to an academic conference and say, I want to present this paper because I got to get it off my chest and I need the gratification that comes with it. And I'm obliged to, under the terms of my contract with the university, I have to be presenting papers, writing books. So there's something around certification and accreditation. That's the thing that people aren't talking about yet, but accreditation of organizations. It's a trend I've seen in other fields. We've facilitated other people doing it, so why not we do it too? And it brings a level of institutionalization, offensive as that might be, to our work. As anarchists, we require a little bit of boundaries.
So would
work.
ICAI
That's
then accredit ICA associates?
Yeah.
As what?
We're allowed to call ourselves, to use that identity and to talk about ToP methods as our own. Because there's a lot of other people out there who would say, oh yeah, we're ToP trainers. Like there's nothing to stop me from going out and saying I'm a ToP trainer, I'm working on my own, or to stop somebody who's taken one course from us, one measly course, from going out and saying, oh yeah, I do that too. I'm ICA, I do a ToP training. According to who, right? Who gives you that right? Well, if ICA International says, here are some organizations that have earned the right to say who is and who is not competent, I think that would be a really powerful rule. And then those organizations say, we have earned the right to decide who is and is not competent, so that's part of our job, and we're going to execute that, we're going to do it. And that imposition of a certain amount of discipline, not quite standardization, but just a little bit of routine. It gives the organization some political, small p political legitimacy, some power, some authority, some right to exist, and some reason for existing. And I think that's an important little piece for people to take on. Once you take that on, then it pushes back on you and say, okay, let's put some heads together around this ToP method stuff, and we'll explore it a bit further, like an annual conference or something. As it is right now, it would rely on me to say, I think we should have an annual conference of ToP folks in Canada. We should just get together. And then put tons and tons and tons of energy into pulling it together. And what have I got? A one-shot wonder. A bunch of people get together. There's no push to say this is something that gets done, and there's some implications for me as a practitioner or for us as an organization. There's no push from that side, and there's no pull except the power of whoever's organizing it. Okay, so that's one important thing that people may find offensive because it's a bit too institutional. But we've done this map of the organizational journey, and everybody talks. I can show you a picture of where our dots are from the late '90s on that earlier draft, and one of the gaps was very, very, very clearly. We can talk all we want about being a learning organization and collaborating out there on that outer ring of the map of the organizational journey. But when push comes to shove, we ain't got no money. We have no way of we don't have the institutional structures to support the evolution and the involvement, or the emergence of learning organizations. You you can't have a learning organization unless you have an organization. You know, it gets to that point. It doesn't plop, you know, onto the surface of the earth, some sort of virgin birth. No, and it doesn't exist out of the power of a lot of wishing. You've got to put some stuff in place. So, there's my axe to grind. I don't want an institution, but I know we need to have institutional structures in place in order to support collaboration.
Changes as you go.
That's where it's going.
I mean, if Doug
Maybe.
says that, then do it that way.
I'd also like to see some pulling back of, I think it'd be really cool to see all the for-profit organizations that have been created by ICA folk, to say let's all get together and create a monster organization, you know, an international organization, a symbolically let's get together and hold down that for-profit side, the resource pole of our little social process triangle. Let's do that. That'd be kind of cool too.